My name's Jonathan Noboru Oda. I'm 27. I grew up in Worcester, Mass. My father's 100% Japanese. My mother's Scottish and English. That's my dad, in the middle obviously, who's really Asian. And that's my mom on the left. You can see that one. Yeah, my sister and my brother both. They look a lot more Asian than I. We had white rice and green tea every night. We ate like all those weird Asian foods, the ones that I can't even pronounce. Instead of calling them chopsticks, we call them hashis, soy sauce, shoyu, like a little bit of culture, but nothing as far as like traditions and holidays and, like we didn't wear kimonos and stuff, but.
I know you still, today you still go to, is it obviously your dad's side of the family, that they have cookouts, or not cookouts, but family gatherings?
Chow mein. They do chow mein.
That's what it's called?
It's like the big thing. People fly in for that stuff. Yeah.
And it's on Sundays?
Sundays.
And it's every month?
It was when I was growing up. We'd go out to my grandmother's house almost every weekend, at least twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go out there and eat white rice and noodles.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Did you ever learn how to speak Japanese?
No, I mean, this one thing I really wanted to do. My grandmother spoke Japanese fluently. She was born in the country, same with my grandfather, but when they were being raised, that was when Pearl Harbor happened. So they kind of forgot about their entire Japanese heritage. Like they were in the containment camps.
They wanted to forget.
They wanted to forget.
Right.
The Japanese were very mistreated. Like all my uncles and my aunts, they all have American names. None of them. My grandfather wouldn't even accept his Japanese name up until this was supposed to be my middle name was Tadashi. That's my grandfather's formal name, but he was too ashamed of it. Up until my brother was born, which is 5 years later, he finally said, "You can do it. You can use it for his middle name." So.
Did your dad want to raise you more as if you were in the Japanese culture?
He was raised a lot in the Japanese culture because my great-grandmother lived with him, who was born in Japan. But it's the same thing. It's just kind of the Japanese. If you talk to anybody, it just kind of got forgotten about. Like no one really wanted to represent their pride through those years. So some of like the generation, like my father's generation, where they were raised by the parents who stood in the concentration camps, well not concentration camps, the containment camps, but I don't know, it's just one of those things, the traditions kind of went out the window, which is sad.
It is.
I would definitely like to know a lot more about my culture, which I've started to a little bit. But
what about religion?
I don't know, it's big in the Japanese culture not to practice religion very much, so religion was never forced on me, and never went to church.
Never went to church, so you weren't raised any particular religion?
No.
Do you know if your mother or father, what they have any clue what they when
they
were
went
younger?
when I started getting into high school, they went to a Unitarian church, which is every religion under one roof. But I think my mother she might be Jewish now.
During high school, as you were growing up, did you have any issues with bullying or racism towards your culture?
I mean, I got a lot of racial slurs, a lot of name calling, but it wasn't that bad for me because I don't look that Asian. But once they found out what my last name was, it was more of those like Oda, Oder. I got called Zipperhead, Shank, all those a lot, but caused some conflicts a little bit. But yeah, all the neighborhood kids would pick on us from our heritage. My dad got into a couple confrontations with the neighbors, parents, but I never really saw too much racism towards him, I guess.
In terms of counseling, how was it for you in high school?
I don't think I ever really talked to my guidance counselor. It was one of those things, she was just kind of there to help me get into college if I needed to, or just help me get out of high school. It wasn't really, I'm sure if I had a problem, maybe I could have talked to her, but it didn't seem like that at all.
Now, I know you said before something about your principal called you a Jap and he made fun of you. Can you tell us about that story?
I was in 4th grade and I brought in a magazine that had all Japanese writing in it. And I shouldn't have been reading it, but I had it in there. I was reading it during reading time, and my teacher found it, gave it to the principal, and he called me. He said, "Can you even read this Jap?" In a couple cuss words, which is kind of crazy for a elementary school principal to do that. But
I see.
That caused some big problems, definitely.
What did your father say about that?
He wasn't very happy at all.
Did he speak to the principal about it? What was the end result?
The door shut and a lot of screaming was pretty much it.
Wow.
How were your relationships with regard to other people that identified as like, you know, other types of Asian, Chinese, Filipino? Did you feel a connection, or did you feel?
No, I mean maybe because I don't look very Asian, and no one, you know, Japanese, they don't typically look like all the other Asians. They're a little shorter, you know, little rounder faces, more chubby, but they're not as pale. I don't know. But I mean, when we were growing up, people would always call the house because they recognize our last name as a Japanese name, and they call us asking, you know, speaking in Japanese, trying to get a feel for the town. And that
Really?
worked out,
So
yeah.
they just wanted to know how it was because they saw your last name,
Yeah,
and
they just look us up in the phone book.
that's interesting.
Yeah. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was in the infantry. I was with 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. I joined boot camp in August of 2001. I was there while 9/11 happened, so kind of knew everything was going to change, and went out to California and did 3 tours. Went to Baghdad. The first one's in Baghdad, the first one's in Fallujah, and then we ran sustainment and stability operations in Ramadi.
I know you said you experienced some bullying when you were in high school. Did you experience any of that when you were in Iraq among other soldiers or anything like that?
Yeah, well, that's just
Normal
yeah,
course
it's not
play?
like it was. Yeah, it's not
They
like
weren't
they were
serious?
actually serious about it. No.
No.
Like on base, I'm sure they had psychiatrists and counselors and everything that we needed, but you know, in the Marine Corps infantry, it's such a tight-knit community that they don't want to send you out. They don't want you to show weakness. In other words, especially, you know, your higher ups, they just kind of press on you that this is what you signed up for. This is what it is. If you have problems, you go speak to the battalion chaplain, who's just a priest. You know.
So isn't that typical of the Japanese culture in general to not show emotion and
Yeah.
to? So it was probably easy for you to.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that my whole family, my dad's side, just very cut clean. No one really whines and complains. I'd say for the first year, I was too much pride to actually say that I needed counseling. When I first got back, it was just the nervousness. Couldn't be in large crowded areas. Had a lot of trouble sleeping, a lot of trouble remembering things. Nightmares, the whole 9, flashbacks. You know, I started drinking a lot, doing drugs, trying to cope with it. That obviously got me nowhere. So I think anyone who went to Iraq and was in full combat operation, kicking down doors, I think they're going to contract some type of PTSD, whether they think so or not. But I went through maybe a year and a half, you know, some negligent behavior and everything. And when I finally had built up enough courage to actually go in and speak to a counselor, I went down, and the only place I knew in Worcester was the Veterans Affair on Lincoln Street. And they set me up with a meeting, and within the first 10 minutes, they said I was bipolar. So
Within the first 10 minutes. And what did you
I
do?
pretty much introduced myself, and that was it. I just told her a couple things about me, and I walked out.
Did she try to prescribe you any medication or anything like that?
No.
No.
Didn't even know callbacks.
Nothing.
Anything like that. No.
Okay, so recently I know that you tried to go back again. What happened with that?
Well, I'm a general contractor, so my schedule, you know, I can't, it's just me and my brother, we run our own little show, so I don't really have that much free. I can't take days off of work. And the VA, the one down on Lincoln Street, the actual outpatient clinic, they're only open till 4 o'clock. They don't do weekends, they don't do after hours, so that's kind of why I never got back into it. But I was in school, and one of my friends went to a place, the Veterans Inc. runs it, it's ran by veterans, and they have their counseling program, group session, you know, everything like that. But same thing, they close at 4:30, and on their website it said they'll work after hours for you, but I couldn't get in there. I went in for one interview, and that was pretty much it. And I kept trying to go in on, you know, at 5:30, not even that late, and they wouldn't give me the time of day. So now I'm actually paying for counseling.
You're paying through counseling? For counseling?
For counseling, yeah. And my insurance obviously doesn't cover it, so.
What can we do as counselors in terms of counseling you better? How can we help?
I think high school kids are going through a lot. I think if counselors are more proactive, that might help. Because I mean, you can tell a lot of kids, you know, if they've got some emotional problems going on, they speak pretty clearly through their appearance. But I mean, high school, I don't really remember much about high school, so.
Do you even remember who your guidance counselor was?
Not a clue.
So they need to be more active,
Right.
need to be more involved.
Yeah.
Not just so focused on college getting you
Right.
into
That's
college.
what I feel like that's all they were really there for, was just to help you get into college and get all your transcripts and everything right.
And for the military counseling, and what obviously they can do a lot more to
Well, yeah,
accommodate
I mean,
to you
They
guys,
spend billions of dollars a year on arming us with the best weaponry, but we come home,
and they can't counsel you,
yeah.
and they can't fit you in their schedule.
Yeah, there's, I mean, in Worcester, the Veterans Shelter, or Veterans Inc., the one that they run, the Veterans Center on Grafton Street, there's only 2 counselors. There's got to be over 5,000 vets in
Worcester
Worcester
alone
County, you know,
for 2 counselors.
2 counselors.
Are there any other offices that you know of?
No, I mean, I've been out for 5 years, and I just found out about this place 6 months ago.